At the little living room desk, Tom Beneke rolled 2 sheets of flimsy and a heavier top sheet, carbon paper sandwiched between them, into his portable. Inner office memo, the top sheet was headed, and he typed tomorrow's date just below this. Then he glanced at a creased yellow sheet, covered with his own handwriting, beside the typewriter. Hot in here, he muttered to himself. Then, from the short hallway at his back, he heard the muffled clang of wire coat hangers in the bedroom closet, and at this reminder of what his wife was doing, he thought, hot, guilty conscience. He got up, shoving his hands in the back pockets of his gray wash slacks, stepped to the living room window beside the desk, and stood breathing on the glass, watching the expanding circlet of mist, staring down through the autumn night at Lexington Avenue, 11 stories below. He was a tall, lean, dark-haired young man in a pullover sweater, who looked as though he had played not football, probably, but basketball in college. Now he placed the heels of his hands against the top edge of the lower window frame and shoved upward. But as usual, the window didn't budge, and he had to lower his hands and then shoot them hard upward to jolt the window open a few inches. He dusted his hands, muttering. But still he didn't begin his work. He crossed the room to the hallway entrance, and leaning against the door jamb, hands shoved into his back pockets again, he called, "Claire?" When his wife answered, he said, "Sure you don't mind going alone?" "No." Her voice was muffled, and he knew her head and shoulders were in the bedroom closet. Then the tap of her high heels sounded on the wood floor, and she appeared at the end of the little hallway, wearing a slip, both hands raised to one ear, clipping on an earring. She smiled at him, a slender, very pretty girl, with light brown, almost blonde hair, her prettiness emphasized by the pleasant nature that showed in her face. "It's just that I hate you to miss this movie. You wanted to see it, too." "Yeah, I know." He ran his fingers through his hair. "Got to get this done, though." She nodded, accepting this. Then, glancing at the desk across the living room, she said, "You work too much, though, Tom, and too hard." He smiled. "You won't mind, though, will you? When the money comes rolling in, and I'm known as the boy wizard of wholesale groceries?" "I guess not." She smiled and turned back toward the bedroom. At his desk again, Tom lighted a cigarette. Then a few moments later, as Claire appeared, dressed and ready to leave, he set it on the rim of the ashtray. "Just after 7, she said. I can make the beginning of the first feature." He walked to the front door closet to help her on with her coat. He kissed her then, and, for an instant, holding her close, smelling the perfume she had used, he was tempted to go with her. It was not actually true that he had to work tonight, though he very much wanted to. This was his own project, unannounced as yet in his office, and it could be postponed. But then they won't see it till Monday, he thought once again. And if I give it to the boss tomorrow, he might read it over the weekend. "Have a good time," he said aloud. He gave his wife a little swat and opened the door for her, feeling the air from the building hallway, smelling faintly of floor wax, stream past his face. He watched her walk down the hall, flicked a hand in response as she waved, and then he started to close the door, but it resisted for a moment. As the door opening narrowed, the current of warm air from the hallway, channeled through this smaller opening now, suddenly rushed past him with accelerated force. Behind him he heard the slap of the window curtains against the wall and the sound of paper fluttering from his desk, and he had to push to close the door. Turning, he saw a sheet of white paper drifting to the floor in a series of arcs, and another sheet, yellow, moving toward the window. Caught in the dying current flowing through the narrow opening, as he watched, the paper struck the bottom edge of the window and hung there for an instant, plastered against the glass and wood. Then, as the moving air stilled completely, the curtain swinging back from the wall to hang free again, he saw the yellow sheet drop to the window ledge and slide over out of sight.